It's okay if we don't have all the answers. It is okay if we don't know what our next step will be. If we don't know what to do next, we should not panic. We should not worry. We should not fret. That is when we can sit down and create a new plan. Welcome to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast. I am your host, Jerald Simon. I am the founder of Music Motivation and the creator of the Cool Songs Club. You can learn more about each of these at musicmotivation.com and coolsongsclub.com. Every weekly podcast is sponsored by various businesses, groups, associations, and organizations. Today's podcast has been sponsored by the Cool Songs Club. If you go to coolsongsclub.com, you can learn more about how to motivate and inspire piano students with these fun, cool songs that I compose for the piano students. Every new weekly podcast comes out on Monday and follows this format. First, I do a welcome or introduction to each new podcast, and then I share a few perceptions I have, many of which have been taken from an inspirational book I wrote, titled Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. Then I will always share a motivation in a minute, a few minutes on a motivational topic, after which I will share the music within, and share one of the compositions I've composed from my various albums, EPs, and singles of original music I've created. You can listen to any of my music on Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, Amazon, or any other streaming site or online music store. I also have music videos you can watch on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Jerald Simon. Finally, I will share Poetry That Motivates, a poem I have written taken from one of the poetry books I've published. Today's podcast is titled Passivity is a Poison. And as an introduction to this, I'd like to make this statement. You must choose what you will do with your life. Don't allow others to choose for you what you would like to learn, what you would like to accomplish, what you would like to do. Now, I say that, and I will preface it by saying that in today's podcast, we are not going to talk about passivity as if it is entirely a bad thing. However, allowing other people to dictate what you want to do or what you will do, how you will live your life, where you will live your life, what you will become ultimately, the education you will receive. If you allow others to make your choices for you and you don't decide for yourself, essentially you are allowing others to walk all over you. And that is not an invitation you should ever extend to anyone. So the Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers for today is titled Be Proactive, and it's found on page 11 from my book Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. And I'd like to read this to you and then talk a little bit about this. On this page, page 11, it says this: Be proactive. Passivity is a poison. Avoid it like the plague. Actively participate in life. You are not a bystander, standing on the sidelines of life. Get in the game and go for the goal. Choose what you will do with your life. Choose what you will do with your time. What will you do? What will you watch, read, accomplish, and become? Accomplishment is a result of action. Act the part. Don't pretend or put on a facade. Don't wait. Don't pause. Don't hesitate. Go, be, do, accomplish. Get it done. Act. Act now. What we are really talking about is helping everyone decide and make a decision for themselves what they would like to accomplish in life, who they would like to be, where they would like to go, what they would like to learn, If you have never had a direct conversation with yourself, asking yourself exactly what you want out of life, it's time to sit down and have that talk with yourself. The motivation in a minute for today's podcast is also from the book Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers, and it is found on page 168. Now, this quote is a very simple quote, and it's by Mahatma Gandhi, Mohandas K. Gandhi, known as Mahatma. He said, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." Now, that quote, that thought, packs a very powerful punch. If you think about it, you must be the change you wish to see in the world. Many times when I speak and do motivational speaking at different events, I will ask those with whom I am speaking if they have ever taken a second or a minute or an hour that day to sit down with themselves and ask themselves what they would like to change, either about their situation, maybe their personality. What bad habits would they like to get rid of and replace with good habits? If they could change anything, either about themselves or about those around them, what would it be? If they could change anything about their community, their home, what about their nation? If they could change the world, what would they change? How would they change? Why would they change? These questions are so imperative for each of us to ask ourselves. It goes back to the main theme of this podcast, passivity. Are we passive in how we live our life? Is our life lived by the decisions others make for us? Do they decide? Do they act and then we merely react? Or will we act for ourselves? There's a fine line, and I'd like to have you think about that. Right now, for the Music Within portion of this podcast, I would like to have us listen to Master of My Fate. Now, this is a piano solo. It's actually from my book, Cool Songs for Cool Kids, Book 3, and it's on the album Sweet Serenity, and that's available on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora. But I'd love to play this for you right now, and I want you to think about the journey, the destination. Now, the title, Master of My Fate, is helping others understand that they have the potential. They have the capacity. They can do much more than they think they can do. They can, if they choose, become, to a great extent, the master of their own fate. Now, I personally believe in God, and I believe there are many instances in life when we are not in control, no matter how much we think we may be. Whether there are health issues beyond our control, acts of God, the reactions of what others have done or said to us or about us, or unforeseen problems, either in the economy, the world, there are elements that are beyond our control, and we cannot predict, nor can we foresee calamities which may come upon us. What I am talking about right now is controlling to a large extent those problems that we do have control over which we can improve, progress. We can, to a large extent, become the master of our own fate. So let me play this. Listen to this. Let me know what you think. So that piano solo is Master of My Fate. I hope you enjoyed that. I wanted to have different moving patterns or parts. And of course, it starts off where it's very determined, as if the individual is the master of their own fate. And then what happens is we speed up, we slow down. We have a section near the end. It's repeated twice, and it sounds as if it is a wandering movement, because the piece has a very laid back, almost lost feeling. And I wanted to have that impact, because as the individuals listened to it, I wanted them to know, no matter how much we plan and prepare, no matter how much we think we may know, sometimes life happens. Sometimes the best intentions, the best plans can fall apart. And we need to be prepared for that. We need to be ready. We need to be willing to know that it's okay if we don't have all the answers. It is okay if we don't know what our next step will be. If we don't know what to do next, we should not panic. We should not worry. We should not fret. That is when we can sit down and create a new plan. Now, for the Poetry That Motivates section of this podcast, I would like to read one of my poems from my book, The As If Principle Motivational Poetry. And this poem is titled, Do What Must Be Done. Do what must be done. Do what must be done until you can do what you choose. You make the plans, and you'll win or you'll lose by what you've done and what you choose to do. Always do your best, and always do your part. And in life, you'll pass each test with a calm and happy heart. Now, it's a simple 2-paragraph poem, but I want everyone to know that they can do what must be done. Sometimes, for work, that may mean getting a second job or even a third job. Sometimes it may mean staying up until 1 or 2 in the morning if you have a deadline. There is something about doing what must be done, and in a way you are holding your own feet to the fire. You are the one trying to push yourself. You are not waiting for others to push you. You are in control. We all can do our very best. That does not mean that we won't have our own little hiccups along the way. But when we get up every morning, when we get going, when we make a plan, when we stick to it, even if that plan falls apart, that does not mean we should fall apart. We can always find a solution. Life is about one problem after another, and how we personally can face that challenge and come up with a solution to whatever problem it may be. Now, some of those problems may take us a week or a month or a year or a lifetime to figure out how to overcome. Sometimes the solutions are not readily available, either because we are not ready, we are not prepared, or because those around us are not yet ready and prepared. There is a difference. So, with today's podcast, talking about passivity, I would like to ask you to look at your own life. And I will do the same with my life, where I can, for the rest of this week, every day, I want to think about whether I am being passive or whether I am being actively productive. Am I waiting for someone to tell me what I should be doing? Or am I going to make a plan, to wake up in the morning and tell myself, today is my day. Today I can accomplish whatever I set out to accomplish. Today I will choose. I'm not going to wait until someone tells me what to choose. I'm not going to wait until someone tells me or asks me to do something. I am going to, in a very, very real sense of the word, become the master of my own making. I am going to change my circumstances starting today. not starting next week, not starting a year from now. Today is going to be my day. And I want to do everything I can, and I hope you will do everything you can to make today count. Make the most of today. It's one step along the journey of life, and sometimes those steps are taken blindly because we don't know where we are going, but we can enjoy the journey. And so today, try with everything you have to not be passive. Be productive. Focus on what you can do today to actively participate in life. Get things going. It doesn't take much, and sometimes I think we mistakenly believe that we need to have extraordinary results. Sometimes I feel as if, as a society, or as a small community, or even as an individual, we are led to believe that we need to have these grandiose gestures. We need to have these monumental steps of success. And it may be because we compare ourselves with others. And it might be because we are looking at what others have achieved or accomplished. And inwardly we want that. The media around us, they try and tell us every day through ads, through movies, sitcoms, books, magazines, they try to portray what success is. And sometimes I've even felt for myself, and maybe you have felt this as well, that my opinions have been swayed, and not in a good way, because I have been led to believe, mistakenly, from the media, what they think is important, what they feel I should believe or I should be doing. If we can come up with our own game plan, if we can learn about ourselves, if we can do everything we can to get up and get going every day, then we can begin to dictate what we will do, where we will go, what we will learn, who we will become. We can then be in charge. And my hope for myself and for everyone else listening is that we can all make a commitment today, starting right now, to decide, to do what must be done. It may take work. It may take sacrifice. It may be difficult. It may be trying at times. We may struggle. We may stumble. We may fall. We may want to quit. That is part of life. But if we will continue day in and day out, sometimes not focusing on the week or the month, but focusing on the individual day, and sometimes not even on the day, sometimes we can only focus on the minute or the next 30 seconds. Because it's a struggle just to get through that short period of time until we can make our way to the next chunk of our own personal time, for better or for worse. We can improve, we can be better, we can do our best, but it is going to take work. It is going to be a sacrifice. But I hope that we can choose what we want to do. It's our choice. No one can make that choice for us. We can choose the level of happiness we hope to obtain, and we can choose that every day. We may have to re-choose what we will do, which will take more work and more sacrifice and more dedication every day, but it's a choice we make every day. Make that choice today. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you have enjoyed this podcast today on how passivity in many ways is a poison, because we accept what others do or say without challenging them and challenging ourselves. Challenge yourself today. Go out of your way to do your best, to be better today than you were yesterday. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast of music, motivation, and more. Hope you have a wonderful week and continue to be positive in all you do. Keep up the great work, and thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to this podcast on music, motivation, and more. I'm so grateful for your support and for taking the time to listen to this podcast. You can learn more about my music and various books I've published by visiting my website, musicmotivation.com. My music is available on Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, iTunes, and can be found on all online music stores and streaming sites. My motivational books and poetry books can be purchased on Amazon, from Barnes & Noble, various online bookstores, and also traditional bookstores as well. I release weekly videos on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Jerald Simon. You can also follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/Jerald Simon. If you'd like to, you can connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, and most social media sites. If you'd like to learn more about motivating and inspiring piano students, please visit my website, coolsongsclub.com, to learn how and why I began composing what have become known as fun, cool songs. These cool songs were composed to help motivate piano students the fun way, especially during their teenage years. So I hope you check it out. And please feel free to contact me if you have any questions about anything. My contact info is found on my website, musicmotivation.com. But I would love to connect with you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I try to respond to as many questions as I can, and I may answer some on this podcast, or I can email you personally, but I try to respond to as many people as I can. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything. Thank you again for listening. Hope you guys have a great week. See ya. Bye.